Hello. Guys, I hope you like this very ominous backdrop I have with the tiki torches going. There should be nothing ominous about it, though. I'm just doing it to keep the bugs away. All right, listen. Holocaust Webquest. It's a good deal of questions, so let's just jump right into the answers, okay? All right, number one. What are the SS? What did they do to people who opposed the Nazis? The SS was a protective squad and Nazi tool of terror. This group looked for, isolated, and persecuted Hitler's enemies. Okay, pretty straightforward answer there. Number two, what was the Gestapo? Or what did the Gestapo do, and who created/led them? All right, well, the Gestapo actually is short for German State Police, GESTA, or I'm sorry, GE's German, STA State, and then POS Police. But the Gestapo was a secret police organized by the SS chief Heinrich Himmler. All right, number three. What did the Nazis do to any viewpoint they felt threatened by? It should be pretty simple. The Nazis singled out and eliminated any viewpoint that opposed them. Number four, who was the Nazi propaganda minister? Joseph Goebbels was the Nazi propaganda minister. Number five, what types of books were burned by the Nazis starting in 1933? The Nazis burned all types of books, including religious and creative works, plays, things like that, just all kind of stuff. Anything they thought disagreed with them. Number six, explain how the Nazis began to put their racial ideology into practice. Basically, they spread pseudo-scientific ideas through propaganda and began to implement killings step by step, starting with people with mental and physical handicaps. So they didn't come right out and grab all the Jews and put them in the concentration camp. It was a process. It started with persecution, then with labeling, then with extradition, then with put them in the ghettos, then take them out of the ghettos, take them to the killing center. So it was like a process. Because honestly, if they tried to do that all at once, they knew they'd meet a lot of resistance. But it just happened over slow step by slow step. All right, now let's talk about Euthanasia Program. Number seven, explain the Euthanasia Program. Who were its targets? How many people died? So the Euthanasia Program, also known as T4, was the systematic killing of over 200,000 people with mental and physical handicaps. Number eight, what was Germany planning to do with the territories they conquered in the East? Germany originally planned to annex most of the countries they conquered in the East after they had been Germanized. So they make them like Germany, make the people follow all the cultures of Germany, and then annex them, bring them on into the fold. Number nine, how were people in Poland and other Eastern European countries treated compared to those in Germanic countries, and why? This is kind of a lengthy answer. You may be able to say it more simply, but I wanted to give you some more information. German occupation of Poland and Slavic countries was extremely harsh. In occupied Western Europe, however, the occupations were much milder. The occupation in so-called Germanic countries was milder because the Germans believed that people in these countries were their equals, while the people in Slavic countries were lesser peoples designed to serve the German Nordic types. More info about that coming later, but that was pretty much their philosophy, and it was what the Holocaust was based on. Number 10. How were the Jews of Eastern and Western Europe different? What two European countries had the largest Jewish population just before World War II? I didn't answer the second part of that question, but that's okay. Go with the answer I've given you. I'm not doing it anymore. Jews in Eastern Europe were more traditional and orthodox, maintaining their own ethnic languages and customs, while those in Western Europe assimilated much more to the cultures of the countries they resided in. What is anti-Semitism? Number 11. What problems have Jews been blamed for throughout history? Anti-Semitism is prejudice for and persecution of Jews. Jews have been persecuted throughout history and have been blamed for natural disasters like famines, floods, and diseases, as well as for cultural problems like poor economies. Because Jews are a diaspora people, which not really means nomadic, but that's a good way to say it. They're nomadic. They're easy targets for blame, which is true because they're not from there. They're not from anywhere they live. The Holy Land, they were kicked out of that. Well, yeah, it goes way back. Okay. All right, number 12. What did the Nuremberg race laws do? The Nuremberg race laws institutionalized the racial theories present in the Nazi Party ideology. Number 13. Why did America not let Jewish refugees into the United States during the 1930s? Americans were reluctant to welcome Jews during the Great Depression because they didn't want competition in the workforce and within social assistance programs. Remember, the Depression was going on. Number 14. What was the final solution? Hitler's final solution was the Nazi plan to exterminate the Jewish people. That's just what they called it. The final solution to the Jewish problem, essentially. List 6 extermination camps. I've given you 6 here. Kelmo, Belzec, Sobibor, Treblinka, Auschwitz-Birkenau, and Majdanek. Mobile killing squads. These are also known as the Einsatzgruppen. Who were the victims of the SS Special Action Squads? How did they kill their victims? The victims of the Einsatzgruppen were Jews living in East Europe, mostly in the Soviet Republic. The countries include Ukraine, Latvia, and Lithuania. The victims were routed up, usually in an open area, made to dig their own graves, and then shot. Number 17. What was said and planned by key Germans at the Wannsee Conference? The men at Wannsee talked about methods of killing, about liquidation, about extermination. So what they were talking about was essentially the final solution. Number 18. What types of people were usually the first to die at a concentration camp? Babies and young children, pregnant women, the elderly, the handicapped, and the sick were the first to die at the concentration camps. How did people profit from the corpses of the victims? Many people profited from the pillage of corpses. Camp guards stole some of the gold. The rest was melted down and deposited in an SS bank account. Private business firms bought and used the hair to make many products, including ship rope and mattresses. And nothing was wasted. Remember, it was wartime, so that might seem weird, but they needed the resources, believe it or not. Or at least they used them. I don't know how bad they needed them. Number 20. Why was gas chosen as the preferred method to kill people? The Nazis used gassing as their preferred method of mass murder because they saw it as cleaner and more efficient than shooting. Number 21. Explain the importance of Auschwitz to the Nazis. How many people died at Auschwitz? Auschwitz was basically a killing factory. Auschwitz was the largest camp established by the Germans. It was a complex of camps, including a concentration, extermination, of course, labor camp. I see there that I didn't answer the question about how many people were killed there. It was in the millions, I'm sure. I don't know. Don't worry about it. Number 22. What types of experiments did Dr. Joseph Mengele perform on people? Who were his typical victims? SS physician Dr. Joseph Mengele carried out painful and traumatic experiments on dwarfs and twins, including young children. He worked with a lot of children, especially twins. He did a lot of twin studies. He was very interested in genetics. By studying twins, he could see which genes were responsible for a trait in one and do something to them to affect that gene and see if it would happen in the other one. Well, he did all kind of stuff. It was sick. Why did the death marches happen? The Germans began frantically to move the prisoners out of the camps near the front and take them to be used as forced laborers in camps inside Germany as the Allies closed in. So the Allies were closing in, and that's when everybody had to get moved out of the camps that were in trouble. 24. What happened to half of the survivors of Auschwitz within a few days of being freed? Half of the prisoners discovered alive in Auschwitz died within a few days of being freed. How were Jewish survivors of the Holocaust treated after World War II, especially in Poland? They had some problems. Let's just say that Jewish survivors of the Holocaust, especially those returning to Poland, faced a greatly increased risk of violent pogroms. Pogroms were like special genocides against Jewish people that had been happening since the dawn of time. But they had nowhere to turn to. All these bad things started happening. They went back to Poland. People started having these weird superstitions against Jewish people, like they were causing, all this evil. 26. What country was created in 1948 and why? Israel was created in 1948 to act as a permanent homeland for millions of displaced Jews. Number 27. What were the Nuremberg trials? What was their point? The Nuremberg trials of Nazis after the war. The Nuremberg trials were trials of Nazis after the war, meant to provide justice for the people killed during the Holocaust. 28. Did Nazis escape justice? Where did many flee? Many Nazis escaped justice either through death in the war or by fleeing to live abroad in the United States or South America. And in fact, there was a big push in America to get the Nazi scientists, believe it or not, and bring them into our Werner von Braun, who did all our rockets. He was a Nazi, and it was a Operation Paperclip is what it was called. They got all these great scientists from Germany. Well, it was like between us, the U.S. and the Soviet Union. We're trying to find these scientists. But yeah, the ones that directly killed people were obviously had to answer for that. 29. Did many people help Jews escape or hide Jews during World War II? Actually, no. Relatively few people hid Jews during the war. The penalties were stiff, but they just couldn't find any help anywhere. Number 30. What was unique about Nazi deportations of Jews in Denmark when compared to other countries that the Nazis conquered? Denmark, interestingly, was the only occupied country that actively resisted the Nazi regime's attempts to deport its citizens. Number 31. How many of Denmark's 8,000 Jews were able to escape to safety? About 7,200 of Denmark's 8,000 Jews were saved from deportation by the country's policies. 32. This is kind of a longer one as well. Explain what happened during the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. In 1942, Jews living in the Warsaw Ghetto realized that the ghetto was being evacuated or liquidated and evacuated to a killing camp. Hundreds of underground Jewish resistance fighters organized an unsuccessful military revolt against the German army, one of the only such revolts. So this is one of the only military resistance acts that Jews took part in, and we'll talk more about why that is, but very rare. Number 33, why do you think there were so few successful uprisings in the camps? Well, in the camps, this is just my opinion, this is an opinion question, there were so few revolts at the killing centers because these places stripped people of their individuality, their agency, and their ability to act. So you come in, you immediately get in line, get a number, cut your hair off, you take your clothes, you're given a uniform, you live in the barracks, you march everywhere, you meet 3 times a day in Roll Call Square, you have a number now instead of a name, you have a tattoo with the number on it. They really strip you of any idea of who you used to be, and without that, they found it's hard to fight back. We'll talk more about that tomorrow. 34. What were the jobs of the Sonderkommando? Okay, the jobs of the Sonderkommando were to maintain the crematorium and burn the bodies of the gassed. They had them in every killing center. Number 35. Who was the target of a serious assassination attempt in July of 1944? Well, who do you think? Adolf Hitler. He was the target of a serious assassination attempt in July of 1944. Number 36. How did the White Rose Organization oppose Nazi policies in Germany? They distributed anti-Nazi leaflets and other propaganda and painted slogans all over cities. And some of their slogans were actually their last words, which here you see their last words. Long live freedom. That was one of their slogans. The last words, what were the last words of the White Rose Organization? The last words of the members of the White Rose Organization was, long live freedom. All right, guys, I hope this was helpful.